Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track by an artist named Chai Tulani featuring Ember Nicolle titled Mine. Switching over to here, we've got it on Spotify. We're going to make it full screen and we're going to listen to this from start till finish, and we are going to hear what we think. Let's go. Mine. This is fantastic in terms of, like my headphones are set so that they'll be quite loud. They're set so they're quite loud, right? But there's this dynamic range to this. Starting off quiet like that is good. I like it. You're like, wait, what's happening? And it makes you pay attention to it. And if we go back to the start, what do we have? We have like a very synth and like, is that like a vocal kind of sample, or is that like the hook line? Vocal chops. And there's a slow build, and there's like a pad as well. I see where we're going with this. I think anybody listening to this gets the drift of what this track is about. I like how the drums in the 808 are rolling. The vocals on top are in that sort of obeying the rule of fourths there and like light high mids, and I think it stands really well. Stacks the harmony really well. Okay. So you got that sort of like mutual, like you got that sort of attraction, that longing for the person, sorry, the physical sort of like stuff going on as well. The person says noise. Yeah, that is an interesting way of saying that word, and it's kind of like, it's like little things like that where it's like, oh, that's interesting the way they're saying that. You pay attention to it and then you get sucked into it. It's like Chai Tulani and sort of Ember Nicolle, like the people who are working on this track, they kind of have an understanding of how to keep the listener interested. The little hand drums that happen occasionally as well are nice. It's like little bits of sprinkles of interest. I'm liking having that fade out. It's reasonably well mixed. Like, I'm liking how the bass is well balanced in this. You got those kind of vocal kind of overdubs and stuff like that as well. It's really cool, nice and colorful. Plenty to keep stay interested in. There's so much production value in this actually. Like, there's little modulations, kind of like reverse plays and stuff going on in the background. There's like a gentle nature to the synths and pads and everything involved into this. I don't think you could get away with any aggressive sort of 808s or anything in a track like this. It would come across as a little bit kind of too much. You need to have that gentle kind of love and affection, but also that sort of like seduction and all that kind of stuff going on. And repeating this hook line as well with that morning, like that kind of note there is a smart move, because what happens is you know where it's going and it's nice to listen to, and it repeats itself and you get familiarity with that melody and the hook, and you can kind of just vibe along and groove along to it with those kind of trap kind of hi-hats. I'm assuming that's Ember Nicolle. This is kind of cool, and response in this last section is kind of dope. I dig it. It's nice having them kind of interact like this. So basically, like, they're talking about the kind of relationship they have, and kind of like, I think like they've obviously maybe had interactions before and they kind of miss those good times and they want to get back into it. I dig it. Only reason I'm not being sort of more explicit about it is because this is like going on my YouTube channel. I'm not sure about how YouTube sort of like responds to people talking about this kind of stuff, but whatever. It's a music review. I do the lyrics. They were like they they were well written. You got to kind of the grips of the story real quick. It was told elegantly and immaturely. It wasn't like kind of like classless or anything like that. There's a sort of maturity and sort of a clever way of sort of I mean, like pulling people in at the start is very good. You know, you got cut to the chase. The level of music production, everything going on to that was just insane. There were so many different instruments. I would say that this track, producing it, would have been a real trip. You know, like getting all those different elements. There were little builds and stuff like that. It would have taken a long time to get the automation and stuff sorted in this track. You know, there was like lots of nice sort of stereo panning bits, and the EQing would have been a trip as well. And there was a lot of kind of vocal overdubs and the call and response with Ember at the end. It's really well done. I would say this is probably one of the better produced tracks I've listened to this year, primarily with what we've been experiencing here. From what I can see, Chai Tulani has been very, very active recently. I can understand that. It shows with the level of polish in this performance. I'm talking about the vocals themselves. I think what little of Ember I heard, again, she was a little bit higher in range than Chai, so it worked well. There was not a lot happening in that high mid range, like high range. So to have her kind of cutting it up there was good, and that call and response. And then Chai, obviously, like that mid range kind of vocalist, like really just handled it. Sat well above the drums and the bass, and those kind of sat well the pad elements. It took like a bit of a step back. Very good vocal technique, breathed well, like a nice legatos and kind of pulled back a little bit staccato as this when it came in, and repeated the vocal melodies well in a way that sort of made it easy to listen to and easy to sort of like vibe to. It was not becoming too repetitive. I think that was part of the reason why there was maybe a focus on having those little kind of shifts and builds and like different instrumental parts and those reversals of the files and stuff, because I think that was really just Chai and whoever else was involved making sure, no, I do not want that listener getting distracted for a second. I need them for 2 minutes. And that was basically that. Because the track at the end of the day is just 2 minutes. Isn't that wild? Singles these days are 2 minutes. Very conscious decision to have it as kind of engaging as possible. I think that's what you need to do, especially when new listeners. You need to have them sucked in. And then here you just got all these other tracks to enjoy. A lot of love for that. I don't have any real sort of complaints about this song, how it was made, how it was produced. I think that it was handled classily from start till finish. I think it was as long as it needed to be. I don't really know if it would necessarily benefited from another verse. I think having that call and response at the end kind of gave closure on whether or not they would get together, the two people involved. I think having Ember at the end, it was a smart move instead of her coming in halfway and having her side. Like a lot of people will have the lady's side of the story, but and that's okay. Like, it's important to hear both sides, don't get me wrong. But, like, in the sake of, in this instance, the simple idea of, like, hey, I'm into you. And then she's answering the phone like that, I think is a smart move at the end. Yeah, it's well done to Chai Tulani on this. The vocal performance was on point. Melodies were cool. Recorded pretty well. Again, I've talked about the production. I've talked about the length of it. I've talked about the structure of it. Like, we had a verse, and then we had, like, sort of no, we had the chorus and then a verse and then a chorus, and then we sort of like had an interlude outro kind of thing where like Ember came in. Yeah, that's basically it. And that's like a lot for 2 minutes. That's a lot for 2 minutes. So to fit everything in like that is sensational. I've got no problem recommending Chai Tulani to anyone who's interested in finding new tunes or Ember Nicolle. Please do go and show them some love on their social medias and Spotify. And thank you for watching this review of mine. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please do go and support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need all the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'm just, before I do the catch your next review thing, I'm just making sure I haven't forgotten anything. I think what I will comment on just before we finish and do the thing is I appreciate the dynamic range. I'm appreciating that there was careful consideration of having the drums and the other elements not being too spiky or too sort of like, they didn't invade the stereo field or anything like that. They didn't get in between the vocals. It's very easy and very clean vocals sitting on top of that. I like the way that the hand drums were there and the choice of like the percussion and the other instruments. It's all, whoever is involved with producing this, whoever Like whether it's just Chai, which would be friggin' phenomenal, and they, you know, were either whether or not they had a team or whether it was just the two of these, Chai and Ember, like what kudos to you. I'm genuinely, it was well done, and I'll, yeah, catch you on next review. Spider hands up.